We want to make your Valentine's Day extra sweet with our Valentine's Day giveaway. We'll draw one winner each day through next Thursday. The grand prize winner will be announced Friday, February 13th.
Each winner will receive an Edible Arrangements box of chocolates and will be entered to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at the Holiday Inn and Suites in Ocean City, dinner for 2 at the Coral Reef Restaurant in Ocean City, a dozen roses from Kitty's Flowers, and a pair of diamond earrings from Park Place Jewelers for a total value of more than $1,600.
If you'd like to enter our Valentine's Day giveaway, go to WBOC.com and click on our picture at the top of the page. And we'd like to announce today's winner of a box of chocolates. Congratulations to John Hill of Whaleyville in Worcester County.
You know, if I could hang just one thing on any given wall in the house, that would be great.
Yeah, but there's always more than one thing on the wall.
Always. And then trying to get them to look right compared to each other is practically impossible. And that is where the Hang and Level comes in. The Hang and Level is supposed to make it easier and quicker to hang a single frame, but even more importantly, several frames together so that they look right.
Meet Hang and Level, the tool that takes the frustration out of picture hanging. To get started, place your picture wire on the single hook. Place the frame and tool on the wall. Find the right spot. Level it using the tool.
So now you've seen the commercial for the Hang and Level the Picture Hanging Tool. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Valerie Cullen with CelebratingHome.com.
Yes.
Now, you're an interior designer, among other things.
Right.
And you have an eye for these things. Are people turning more to grouping things when they hang them on the wall?
They actually are. It used to be you'd have one single picture and maybe a couple sconces on each side. Now people are really getting into having a large frame and frames around it.
And what's the problem with that?
Well, getting them level and even, that's a huge problem.
Just make them look right.
Just trying to make them look right.
Okay, so when you hang something, once you figure out exactly where on the wall you're wanting to put it, what do you usually do?
Well, most of our framed art comes with a sawtooth hanger in the center.
Right.
Well, I kind of measure, tape, so there's several steps that you have to take when you're hanging groupings.
Right.
And it can get a little difficult because you have so many different measurements and then you have tapes and you don't want to mark everyone's walls.
Okay, so have you seen the Hang and Level before?
I have seen videos online about that.
What do you think,
hanging
just
tool.
first thought? You think it'll work?
I'm hoping it'll work. It'll make my life a lot easier.
Let me hand you this. I'll take this.
Okay.
And I'll let you take a look at that, and I think you have a pretty good idea of how it works. So,
I think so.
If you know where you want to put what, I will let, we're kind of a rigged up wall here. I will let you tell me where to put the nail and I'll put it in.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That sounds
Okay.
good.
Measurements are still very important to place your objects exactly where you want them. But by hanging your picture on the Hang and Level and then placing the Hang and Level on the wall, it's supposed to help you visualize exactly where you want it. Then remove your picture and press the button, which has a small point that marks the wall. Place a nail where the mark is and hang your picture, and it's time to move on. Valerie discovered that while the Hang and Level has hash marks on it, they're not labeled or numbered in any way. Measuring is still extremely important, but the Hang and Level is supposed to make it easier to place the nail exactly. Typically, this is where Valerie would use painter's tape to mark the wall and remove it after driving the nail, but we just drew directly onto our practice wall. After measuring and using the Hang and Level to mark the wall, we hung the second, third, and fourth accent pieces next to the main picture in the center. And then it was time to hang the final piece in the center at the top. But here's where we ran into a problem. The thing about this one, though, is it's got 2 hangers on it.
Right.
So it's not like you can just mark the center where you're going to hang it. So now what do we do?
So basically, normally what you would still want to do is mark the bottom where you would want the bottom to sit and the side, and then make your exact measurements. Okay, and then you measure from the sawtooth to the top.
Okay.
And that's how you would put your nail.
With only 1 point on an object, the Hang and Level worked fine. But with 2, Valerie couldn't figure out a way to make it work without reverting entirely back to tape measure and pencil marks. It looks like we've run into a problem.
I think so.
I mean, for the single hanger thing, it worked great.
Perfect.
But for the 2 Now, if this was a wire, it wouldn't be an issue.
Exactly. If you had your wire, you could hang it right there and
Right.
you'd be fine.
But with two hangers, that makes it kind of difficult.
That makes it a little tricky.
Huh.
Yes. Because I don't know how, you would still have to follow the old rules of measuring, marking,
Right.
and nailing that way.
Okay. First off, what do you think overall of how your grouping worked out? Are you happy with how it went up on the wall?
I'm fairly happy with the way it turned out. The measuring on that side, I feel like it's a little closer to my focal
Right.
point than I would have liked. So I think actual measuring, instead of trying to measure with this,
Right.
would have been a little bit better.
So what did you think of how it marked and sticking the nails in? And
I like that. I think it made it easier.
now, our biggest problem came with this because there are two hangers on it, and we couldn't figure out how to make it work.
Yes, that was a little tricky. I don't think it'll work well with something that has the two separate hangers.
Right. Valerie, let's boil all this down. $14.99 for the hang and level.
Right.
Would you buy it?
I don't know if I would buy it.
Yeah.
I like how it hangs the single item, but I still think you still need your pencil in some areas. You need the measuring tape in some areas. So I think I'd probably just stick with my old methods. So, yeah.
There you go. So as we usually do, we let Valerie take the hanging level with her to try it out in the real world to see if she found it easier to use or more difficult. And guess what she said? It was easier. So in hindsight, she said, I would buy it and recommend it. She said, while you still have to eyeball it, it's quicker, especially if you use square picture frames.
How about that?
How about that?
Well, we want to thank you for watching Delmarva Life. Join us tomorrow. Did you ever think you could be addicted to food? Studies suggest you can. To overcome it, you must win the mental game. We'll meet two women who are doing just that.
Maybe you pack on the pounds because you enjoy comfort food just a little too much. Wait till you hear how a new study answers the question, does that feel-good food actually have an emotional benefit?
And maybe you're guilty of binge eating. Did you know that that's considered an eating disorder? And you might be surprised to hear what's being used to treat it.
Today we learned about the importance of sleep. Tomorrow in part 2 of our sleep study, we'll learn what could be preventing you from getting a good night's rest.
And this Delmarva woman has served a lifetime volunteering. At 89 years young, she shows no signs of slowing down. Find out what has inspired her for so long.
Hopefully it won't take too long to figure out where Sean Stryker is on Delmarva. See if you can figure it out too in our search for Stryker.
Plus, we're in the kitchen making Sambuca blue cheese mussels. Delmarva Life, life at its best here on Delmarva.
Now, don't go anywhere. WBOC News at 6 starts right now.